You are watching the very first match of the ICC Cricket World Cup 2023, and it is a repeat of the 2019 World Cup final between England and New Zealand. Hello, and welcome back to Balla Ball. Defending champions England bat first, post a score of 282, which was deemed to be not a very high score, but again they had runs on the board and it's the World Cup. New Zealand comes out to bat, they lose Will Young pretty early, but then we see an outstanding partnership between Rachin Ravindra and Devon Conway. They chase it down in 36 odd overs with 9 wickets in hand, literally crushing the defending champions. New Zealand then take on Netherlands, beat them pretty comfortably by 99 runs. Their third match is against Bangladesh, who get only 245 in their 50 overs. New Zealand again chases it down with 8 wickets to spare and with more than 7 overs left. Thereafter, they take on Afghanistan, whom they beat by 150 odd runs. At this point of time, New Zealand and India are the only two sides that have been unbeaten and are both at the top of the table. Then comes the match, which is to be the fifth match for both the sides, India and New Zealand, both the unbeaten sides. New Zealand bat first, they are cruising at 178 for 2 in 33 odd overs. But that is when Mohammad Shami comes in to bowl his second last spell. He gets the well-set Rachin Ravindra, breaks the partnership, comes back after the 40th over for his last spell and literally wreaks havoc. Shami not only gets the well-set centurion Daryl Mitchell, but he also dismisses Mitchell Santner and Matt Henry, ultimately getting a 5-wicket haul and restricting New Zealand to 273, which could have easily been 305 or 310, which could have been a very challenging total to chase down on this pitch. Now here the Indian team has lost one of its most vital cogs, Hardik Pandya. And that too for an indefinite duration. What it means for the Indian side is that they would miss not only this but one of the world's best all-rounders and therefore his services as an ace finisher and a handy fast bowler. Therefore, India drops Shardul Thakur to make way for Mohammad Shami, the fast bowler, and Surya Kumar Yadav, who would bat at number 6 as a finisher. We witness yet another superb knock from Virat Kohli in what could have been a successive 100 for him after the one against Bangladesh. Nevertheless, his 95 runs prove vital to India's successful run chase that Ravindra Jadeja completes at the end of the day. Now what happens is that this is where the downfall of the New Zealand side begins in this World Cup. They lose their momentum. They do take on Australia in the very next match. Australia gets to a mammoth total of 388 runs. New Zealand gets to 383 in what could have been one of the highest ever successful run chases in ODI cricket, but they fall short by just 5 runs. So after 4 consecutive wins, New Zealand now have 2 consecutive losses. They then take on South Africa, and this is a South Africa that has been batting brilliantly well, putting South Africa to bat first, which everyone warned against. New Zealand conceded 357 in their 50 overs, and then the South African bowlers were too good to handle for New Zealand, who crumbled for just 167 and lost the match by 190 runs. So 3 straight defeats. They then take on Pakistan, a Pakistan that showed glimpses of good cricket against South Africa. New Zealand score 400 runs. It looks like New Zealand is going to win this hands down, but Fakhar Zaman had some other plans. Pakistan starts off very well. Fakhar Zaman hits the ball out of the park as often as he can. Babar Azam supports him really well. They get to 200 for 1 in 25.3 overs. And eventually win by the DLS method. New Zealand are completely shocked. They made 400 and yet they lost. Now New Zealand has the first 4 matches which they won, and then thereafter the next 4 matches which they lost. So it all went downhill the moment they faced India. On the other hand, when we look at the Australian side, the story's been just the opposite way. Australia played their opening game against hosts India, and it was going to be tough for Australia, everybody knew. They got out for 199, but some excellent bowling with the new ball put a lot of pressure on India, and we as Indians got really scared when we saw the scoreboard at 2 for 3. However, we knew that Virat Kohli is still there. Virat Kohli and KL Rahul built a Herculean partnership, help India chase it down with 6 wickets in hand. And Australia faces its first defeat. Thereafter, Australia takes on South Africa. South Africa bats first, gets 311 runs, but gets Australia all out for just 177 runs. A very embarrassing defeat for Australia, and now they are under pressure. They've lost their first 2 games. Australia in the third match take on Sri Lanka, and ultimately it did turn out to be an easy game for Australia, but they did lose 5 wickets but somehow managed to win, though not as convincingly as they would have liked. Now comes the game that is to become the turning point in Australia's World Cup campaign. They take on Pakistan. Australia bat first, they smashed 367 runs in their 50 overs. It looks like game over for Pakistan, but they do give quite a bit of fight. They get to 305 with about 5 overs left, but they are all out. They lose all their wickets. And it's quite a big victory for Australia, and this is where the resurgence begins for Australia as they start asserting their dominance and displaying their ruthlessness that they've always been known for. Since this was just the beginning, they took on Netherlands after this, in which Glenn Maxwell smashed that 40-ball century. Australia got to 399, then they got Netherlands out for just 90 runs. 90 all out. Australia won this match by a mammoth margin of 309 runs. Yes, that's how big the victory was. They then took on England, their Ashes rivals, and beat them pretty comfortably in the end. And now their very recent game against Afghanistan, the one that Australia was not supposed to win, the one where Afghanistan scored 291 runs in their 50 overs, and Australia won 92 for 7. There was no way they could have chased it down from there. But Glenn Maxwell had some incredible plans. We all know about that. Having cramps all through his innings, he managed to get a double 100 in just 128 balls, which was out of this world. I'm not getting into the description of that innings. We'll do a separate video on that. But the innings that Glenn Maxwell played, there aren't enough adjectives in the dictionary to describe it. Australia won it comfortably in the end with more than 3 overs to spare and all the 3 wickets still being intact. So from 92 for 7 to 293 for 7. That is precisely how New Zealand campaign got completely derailed after their loss to India, and how Australia went through a tremendous resurgence after they beat Pakistan. As of now, it looks like India versus New Zealand will be a semi-final to be played in Mumbai, and Australia will take on South Africa in the second semi-final. Who do you think is going to win those, and what do you think is going to be the final? Please comment. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.